I want to show y'all an oven that was used by the Army in the old days. And this is taken from the Manual for Army Cooks, which was published in 1896. This oven was basically in four pieces. They had the two ends and then the two sides, and they would clamp the two sides together. It was made of sheet iron that was a 1/16 of an inch thick, and they had the straps that they would rivet on to give it strength. But I would think you could use just a metal 55-gallon drum to do this. What they would do is just set this on the ground. It had no bottom in it. And then they would cover everything except for the front door with 8 inches of dirt to act as an insulator. And they said they recommended 8 inches of dirt, that anything more, once the metal heated up, it might collapse from the weight of the dirt. But anything less, it wouldn't be much of an insulator. And they said that you didn't need a chimney, that you could just feed it through the door and it would vent through the door. And you would build the fire in the very back of this oven, feeding it a little at a time. They said it was better to feed it a little at a time to build up the heat than it was to put the amount of wood required to get the oven hot all at once. And then when it got good and hot, they would just rake out the coals, put their bread pans in there, put the door on, and cover the cracks around the door with wet mud or clay, and then bake the bread. And they said that if they ran this for 24 hours a day, then they could provide enough bread for 1,000 men. The book says that you can use the regular dirt floor, but it's better if the bottom is paved to help retain the heat. I was thinking if you could just take a barrel and bury the bottom half in the ground and fill it up until you have a flat surface in there, and then pave it over with maybe fire brick, and then cover the barrel over with dirt, and you'd have an oven. I'm sure it wouldn't, last forever. It would rust out at some point, but this is a very easy, very cheap oven to build. This book also mentions that baking in Dutch ovens used a lot of fuel, that it really wasn't an economical way to cook. And it seems to me that this oven would be a whole lot smarter thing to do, because you'd be building one fire and you could bake a lot of things at one time, maybe even a week's worth of bread and bakery items all at once. And then plus you'd be able to dehydrate food in it as the oven's cooling down. That's what they would do, was after they had baked everything in their ovens, then they would use that leftover heat to dehydrate with. So this oven would work out great for something like that. They said that the first time you heat up the oven, it would take about 2 hours to get it hot enough, because the soil would need to dry that's all around it. But after that, it would take an hour to heat it up. They said that bread could be baked in 45 minutes in this oven. And the dimensions they give, I'm showing the picture of the large oven because it's easier to get an idea of what this oven looked like. But I'll show you the picture of the smaller one. Was 5 feet long and 3 feet 9 inches wide and 1 foot 4 inches tall. This book also gives directions for a few other temporary type ovens that require nothing. You can dig a hole in an embankment and use it as an oven. The book is very interesting. It also gives some recipes that are simple, using canned goods and food storage type items. And they also have menus if you're stumped for menu type plans. And I'll put a link to this book in the description box. They also tell of a way to build an oven where they would put a big wooden barrel on the ground and mound dirt all over it, and then use that mound as a form to cover the mound with wet clay. And then after the clay dried, then they would remove all the dirt from around the barrel and just burn the barrel out of the oven. and that gave them a more permanent oven. And I was wondering if this couldn't be done in the same way, covering it with some kind of concrete or clay or something. I don't know exactly what could be used. I know you'd have to worry about it cracking from the heat or maybe even exploding from the heat. But it could, if it was covered with something more permanent, then when the barrel rusted out, you would be left with a more permanent oven. So there's some ideas for you. Hope it helps.